Okay, here's a new build of the track mode with RetroPie. It's based on RetroPie 4.8 and a track mode, I think it's 2.6.2, so current ones as of April 2022. There's very few differences between this particular build and what you get just by installing it normally through the experimental menu in RetroPie. But I had a few users, Fableson, watching one of my YouTube videos, asked for a new build of a track mode because previously, the ones I've done several years ago now, they were possibly quite useful because back then it didn't come bundled with RetroPie and you had to build it from scratch and it wasn't integrated, so you had to do a lot of manual configuration. So it's probably a lot more useful on some of those old builds. But now, because it's part of the experimental menu in RetroPie, it's relatively easy to get up and running. So what I've done, I've installed it through that method, made a few small tweaks, and saved the image. So I'll put a link in the description so you can download it. And it's just an easy way to get up and running really with a track mode. Like I say, you can just go and do this manually yourself through the normal menus, but this is sort of pre-built with a few very small tweaks. So for example, on the boot up, it's quiet, there's no logs being output, so it's just the video that you choose. In the build, it's just the track mode and RetroPie one, just to sort of focus the fact that it's a sort of merge of the two. Also, there's a few extra themes installed on this one for a track mode, so I've just pre-selected a range that have been built from a user called Yaron on, I think he's a moderator on the track mode forums, and they're absolutely fantastic themes or layouts that he's designed for a track mode, so I've added those on. They're fantastic, and also obviously I've taken that track mode video from a user as well on the track mode forums, and I've got them credited in the README, etc. So hopefully some of you find this useful if you don't want to build it yourself or you want those small tweaks like the quiet boot, extra themes. Kodi is already installed on this one along with the Plex plugin, and also you can flip between the track mode and Emulation Station using the menus here. So if we were to go into Emulation Station, you'll also get a menu option that will take you back into a track mode, so you can fairly easily just jump between it. If there's anything as you watch the video you think actually it'd be useful if it could do this or it's configured in that way, let me know in the comments, and if there's enough changes I can always put another build up for everyone to download. And just a reminder, this isn't a build from RetroPie, it's not a build from a track mode, it's just a sort of ad hoc merge that I've done, so there isn't any official support for this. If you've got generic questions about RetroPie or track mode, I'm sure that forums would help you out, but if it's specific to this build, you really need to do some research yourself. Anyway, for anyone who's possibly not familiar with the track mode, I'll just very quickly run through how the visuals look on a track mode. So what we're looking at now is a display, and a display is a kind of combination of emulator details and a theme. So for every given system you can tweak it, and the track mode is very configurable. You can do a lot with it, particularly in terms of the look and feel of it all, but I'll run through those setup options in a second. But for now I'll just spend a couple of minutes and show you the aesthetic in the track mode. So I'll just jump to a couple of systems that I've already scraped. So I'm just going through, RetroPie 1 is still there, and then for every system that you've got, I haven't changed this, I haven't removed the ones that the RetroPie build would just give you automatically. Obviously if you have games in here they'd appear, but if not you can always make these displays disappear, which I'll show in a moment. So I've just left those in for the moment, but if we jump to the first one that I have scraped. Okay, so this is the theme for, I think it's At the Arcade. As I said, Yaron's done all of these, and you can see you've got the marquee at the top, Gauntlet 2, what's next? Ghosts and Goblins. So you've got Ghosts and Goblins marquee at the top, the video snap in the middle. You've got a background image of an arcade with, you can see it sort of updates. It's not a video, but it's animated. And also there's a background music of an arcade going on this one, as well as the video and the audio from the snap. And then on the right hand side you've got the flyer or advert for the given game. For each layout, even if you don't want to tweak or create files yourself sort of on a text editor basis, there's a lot you can do in the UI, which I'll jump to in a minute, but I'll just scroll through a few of these. obviously it helps as soon as you've got the artwork for it. So you've got like the Pac-Man and the Pac-Man marquee, you've got the flyer, and you've got the video snap. So when you've got all of the pieces, it looks a bit better, because it'll still work fine if you haven't got the artwork, but obviously it helps if you have. And there you go. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you have got a track mode in some sort of form running already. It can look really good, especially compared to sometimes the sort of static nature of the emulation station one. But a track mode can really make the visuals pop. Okay, so that was arcades. If we flip to another system, I've only put 2 or 3 on here, so the next one it's going to hit is Spectrum. Again, I struggled to scrape some of the artwork on this, so you'll see some blanks. So on this one we've got the wheel art on the right, you've got Commando, the snaps running, and the box art is on the left. But some of these, there you go, so Dan Dare box art I haven't got, so just as a generic default box. And you can see on the wheel art as well, there's a couple of question marks where I couldn't get that. And didn't even get the video snap for that one. Football Manager, no wheel art, no snap. I really like the themes though in this. There's so much work been put into these, and they're all fantastic. And there's such a range for systems as well. I'll go through the list in there. There must be, I don't know, about 100. I did have Manic Miner, and the cassette cover definitely didn't look like that. Must be a few variants. Anyway, you get the idea. Another layout, another system, and just still makes use of the artwork. Last one, I think I've got a Mega Drive in here somewhere. Okay, so on this one you can see you've got the cart art, which is in the Mega Drive itself. On the left you've got the box art, you've got the snap. Marquee I guess isn't needed or used here, and then you've got the wheel art for all the logos there on the right. There we go. Okay, so that's what a track mode can look like for anyone who's not familiar with it. But if we go back, I'm just scrolling sort of left and right here on the joypad and to the initial menu. Let's see what options we've got. So we've got the RetroPie one, which is there by default, so you can access all the normal RetroPie setup options in a track mode if you want, and if you didn't want to use either the terminal or emulation station, it's exactly the same functionality, just in this particular view. And then this is the one that I've just put to remind people when it boots up, you've got some key options, so which is press tab to configure. That's the main one, really, to make sure that you can edit, control settings or the layouts or any of it, which I'll run through in a second. So just press tab to get into that menu. Or I've mapped on this, the select button on my joypad to do it as well, but same thing. Launch Emulation Station will just reboot the Pi and start you an emulation station rather than a track mode. And like I say, when you're in emulation station, on the RetroPie menu there is the option to go back to the track mode. Launch Kodi, so let's just jump into that a second. So that's just installed from RetroPie as normal. So it's not the latest stable, but it's got, it does everything you're going to need it to want it to do. It's got all the plugins available, modules. So for example, on the left hand side here, whilst we're in here now, I'll just show a couple of things very quickly. If we scroll down, we've got add-ons, and then we've got Plex, which is possibly used at least as much as Kodi. So that's already available just to connect to, if you've got a Plex server you want to watch the videos from. At the top, if we go to the settings, one thing you might want, and a keyboard here can be useful in case your controller isn't mapped. If you go into the settings options and choose system, then input, and then configure attached controllers there. If you select that, then I've just gone in here into the Super Nintendo one and selected which button does what. So basically you just say, you click OK or enter on the keyboard and let's say, right, press the buttons, similar to how Emulation Station does when you start up. So you can just make sure that your mapping's right there, and that's why I'm controlling it with my joypad now. I've just gone through and set those. So the options are there if you want to change it to joypad or just put the keyboard in. Anyway, if we go back, and we quit out of Kodi now, and I will exit. That should take us back to a track mode. And reboot is reboot. Just literally reboot into whichever front end you were using. So in this case, it'll just come back into a track mode, and shutdown will shut down the Pi. And then at the bottom there, just a reminder about the particular image, because I've got different ones previously for the Pi 3, but this is specifically for the Pi 4. So that was another image I suppose I hadn't done before. I hadn't done one for the Pi 4. So just a version reminder there really. So that's all that menu's used for, but let's have a quick look at the setup. So when you run this image, you won't have any ROMs on there. Obviously, you won't have any scraped artwork, but what you will have is everything else that you can see, including with the configuration. When we go there, we get these options, and I'll go through each one. Some are a bit more detailed than others, but if I start at the top, emulators, and go into that. Actually, I'll start with controls, because if you can't control it, the rest is a bit awkward. So in controls, you've got for every function on the left-hand side here for a track mode, next game, previous page, next page, right. Every option you can assign an optional button to get that working. So if I was going next game, I could say add input, and it would be expecting me now to press the key. If I press on the H, then it's just logged that. So okay, when I press H, it's going to go to the next game on my keyboard. But you just tap your joypad button to do the same thing. I'll just remove that input. Go back. So the only thing I did besides the default, because these are populated automatically when it gets installed from RetroPie, was configure. So in configure, I just went down here, added one more, because you can add multiple options. This already had tab to get to configure, or pressing escape and up, or pressing up on the joypad and button 1 on the joypad, which I think might be A in my case. But I've just said, right, I also, if I just tap select, I want that configure menu to come up. So I've added that in there. But besides that, just come in here and put up, down, left, right, choose that for your joypad to make sure you can navigate easily. Otherwise, you'll need a keyboard plugged in. So like you say, you can put multiple inputs per function. It doesn't just have to be that key only that does it. And then if you don't want it, just hit remove input and it removes it. Anyway, so if we go back, there we go, emulators. So these are all the emulators that come with RetroPie, which is why they're pre-configured. And there's a chance that you won't use some of them. That's fine. The fact they're here doesn't mean they will appear in your list. That's set somewhere else. This is just literally a section that shows where they're set up. If we go for into an example like Nintendo Entertainment System, here you can see some of the settings. So the first one, the emulator name, that's just the human readable name. You can type what you like there. That's just the name of what you're setting. But the executable and command arguments are set like this because that's essentially how RetroPie runs. So it will just work in the same way that it would if you were using Emulation Station. So it's already populated these details for you. You could go and change it if you want, but you shouldn't because it's right and it'll just work. Similarly, it's already got the ROM pass in, so when you put your ROMs in there, it knows where to find them with these extensions. The only thing you've really got to remember in emulators is when you put your ROMs on the normal location, you need to go down the bottom here and choose Generate Collection ROM List, and that will generate the file that lets the track mode see them in terms of the displays that we saw a minute ago. And because, I'll forget about emulators, because we saw, say, the Sega Mega Drive a minute ago, if I go in that one as a sort of live example, here we go, Sega Mega Drive emulator, you can see that one thing that you would have to do for some of these layouts or themes is make sure your artwork folders are there. Now, the RetroPie install will automatically put a the paths in for your flyer, marquee, snap, and wheel. They're already there. But I added box art and cart art because the themes will use that as well. So I've added that bit in. You can do that manually. All you do is hit add artwork, and then you put the name of the label, say, I don't know, test or something. And then you put the path, so wherever your artwork is. So you could put blah, 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 wherever it might be. I mean, it's not there, but that's an example. And you can see from these examples that all of the artwork, the kind of default location is in the ROMs directory in that system. Excuse me. And then the name of the artwork folder. So you can put it anywhere you like, but that's kind of the default. So it's easy enough just to follow that example. And that's all you really need in the emulator section. Obviously, you could set a brand new emulator up at the bottom of the emulators list. You can set ones up if they weren't there already, although obviously the setup has done most of them all there ready for you. The attract mode one is purely there for that menu that has load Kodi, reboot, start, etc. So it's marginally different, but you can just ignore that. Anyway, so next one, displays. Now, displays are those screens that we just saw when we went left and right. We went into the main one, the Sega Mega Drive one, the Spectrum one, and a load that were blank as well. So, for example, if I go in displays, this is a full list of those, and one of them was ports, so that's where Kodi lives. Now, ports didn't appear when I was going left and right, because when you go into the display section here, there's an option that says show in cycle. And I said, no, I don't want to see the ports when I'm scrolling left and right. You just hit no. And similarly, I know in displays, what am I never going to have? Like Fairchild Channel F, that I don't want to know, so I just go show in cycle, no. And then it's one less to scroll through when you're going left and right. So you can tweak that as much as you want. Now, on those displays, one we did look at was Sega Mega Drive. So if I go to Sega Mega Drive, there I've got the options to see what those displays say for Sega Mega Drive. So the name, Sega Mega Drive, makes sense. The layout is the theme that I want when I choose that, or when I land on that display. So I've chosen Sega Mega Drive Japan, and this is where the pre-downloaded themes or layouts from Yoran come into it. So if I select that and then choose up and down, I could choose a different one. So I could have, for my Sega Mega Drive, I could have the display looking like Sony PlayStation Portable, which would be weird, but it's an option. You know, you can just choose whichever you like for any of the displays. So I've just stuck with Sega Mega Drive Japan, and there's like a UK or US one there as well. So you can choose whichever you want. The collection ROM list is which ROM list should it use on that display. Now, logically, it should really just use the Mega Drive one because I've created a Mega Drive display. But you could, if you wanted, under the Sega Mega Drive display, instead show the ZX Spectrum games. But yeah, I'm not going to. Show in cycle, yeah, absolutely. When I go left and right, I want to see the Sega Mega Drive one appear. Show in menu. There is a menu called Displays menu, which show all the displays at once in like a text format, so you can jump through them much quicker. So you can bring that menu up, and if you want this to show in that list, then you say that's what this option's here for. And when you go to any of these options in any of the menus, they've pretty much all got a help bit of text at the bottom. So it's worth checking that out when you hover over it, because it usually explains exactly what that option will do. Yeah, filters, I'm not going to go over. Layout options, that's really important. That can be really important. So with some of these themes, there are a lot of tweaks that you can make with them using the user interface. You don't have to get a text editor out. So I've chosen up here, layout, Sega Mega Drive Japan. And if I go to layout options, these are all options specific to Sega Mega Drive Japan. And there are a lot of options. I'll go through a couple of important ones maybe. Let's have a look. CRT scanline, so just to give it that bit more retro feel. Enable CRT bloom shader. Wherever you see bloom related options, that can put quite a lot of demand on the CPU, and the Pi can struggle. So if you do see a sort of slow or sluggish layout where you're clicking through the different games and it takes a while, check the layout options for anything bloom or maybe even scanline related, and turn it off and see if that makes a difference. It certainly makes a big difference on the arcade one, which I'll look at in a second. Here you can see whether you want the Sega Mega Drive one to care about the box art or cart art to include it. I think it looks good, so I've kept it in. And what else? Well, you can see, I mean, there's a stack load of options to tweak, and they all differ slightly depending on the layout you're on. And if we go to the one in displays for main, which is where I put the arcade games, here we go, main, layout options. You've got options like that background image is retro animated, but you could flip it to fan art or polygon trip, you get all sorts in there. What was that one? Retro animated. Enable background scanline. So again, give that a whirl to give it that scanline effect. That's usually okay on the CPU, but try it, see how it goes for you. Enable arcade. So this is basically a WAV file or sound file. Is that MP3? Maybe MP3. In the background playing over and above the snap video audio. So here you could say use it's 1992 one, just have it off, 83. So you've got options there. What else have we got? Okay, enable wheel sounds. By default, enable wheel sounds is something like random, which means every time you click down or up to choose a different game, it makes a different noise, which I find distracting. So I've gone for arcade joystick instead. Here, so anything with glow again or bloom, it can really push the CPU. So I tend to turn that off, but yeah, play about with it, see what you think. Show marquee, so you could even turn that off if you wanted. I turned the box art off because I was happy with just the flyer, but you could have both on. Again, it's just worth checking out all of those layout options on the given layout that you choose. And at the arcade as well, by the way, there's not just one at the arcade. You've got Atomic Wave, Candy, Capcom Classics, HD, Mugen, Open Board. You've got all sorts. There's so many different themes here. What else? We've got Atari ones, Jaguar themes. Oh, that's the default one with a track mode. ColecoVision, Amiga, Hyperspin based ones. Was that Lord of the Rings? Microsoft Xbox. But yeah, you can look through those. They've covered just about every system. It's great. Controls have been through. Sound is just when you're reading through a track mode, and if you're pressing certain buttons or doing certain functions, you can assign a sound file to every individual piece if you want. So that's where that's done. You just choose the path of it in here. So it just wants the path, yeah. Intro is intro video. I've disabled that here. I mean, it says yes, but there isn't a video to play, so that's why it's not playing. That intro screenshot video of RetroPie in track mode is set in RetroPie setup as opposed to a track mode setup. But yeah, you could put an additional one here, I guess. Screensaver, you should tweak that. By default, it's on, and there's loads of different options, and it might pick up images or snaps you don't want, so you can change it here to say exactly what a screensaver should do if you haven't touched it in 10 minutes or whatever. Plugins, there's loads of quite powerful ones here. These are defaults built in, but you could install more. So for example, you've got FPS monitor, so you can see what frames per second you're getting on a given game or a given moment in track mode. What else is there? Read a specific display on custom input. I haven't played about with much of these, but they're quite useful to customize exactly how you want it all to work. And again, at the bottom there, you get a full description of what everyone does, or you could install more. And all of the track mode setting, whether it's modules, plugins, layouts, they're all in the folder opt or apt/retropie/ configs /all/a track mode. I'll put it in the description anyway, and you can just add and remove any more that you want as well. So you're not limited to the themes, for example, that are on here. You could add as many as you like. Scraper, I don't tend to use a scraper. To scrape stuff, for a track mode, I tend to use the Emulation sync tool. They've got a great selection of, well, all sorts of artwork, banners, flyers, logos, all sorts. And then I just put it in the folders that we saw a minute ago when I was going through the emulators. And and there's general. general bits. So let's get it in the right language. I think it's about 6 or 7 by default. So you've got Spanish, French, Italian, Japanese, Korean, is that Taiwanese, Chinese, German. When you start up a track mode, by default, it's left here to bring you back where you last were, but you could change it to launch this last game straight away, or the displays menu I spoke about a minute ago, which is just the text list of displays rather than the sort of layout version themes. Anyway, I want that last one by default. And again, you can go through here and tweak exactly what you want. I haven't really changed it from the defaults in there, really. And that's it. So that's a track mode build that you can run on a Pi 4. I'll put a link to the download for it in the description. If there's any more info you need, just put it in the comments, and I'll be happy to help. And thanks very much for watching. It was just a quick video on a new way to get a track mode running if you're struggling, but hopefully it will help some of you. Thanks for watching.